We'll be tying a fly with a fruit snack wrapper, an old paintbrush, a straw, and a Ziploc bag. Grab the paintbrush and separate 4 fibers away from the rest of the brush. Go ahead and cut these fibers free from the brush. Go ahead and set these aside. Start a hook in your vise and take thread wraps from the eye to the bend of the hook. Leave the tag end sticking out. Grab the fibers from the brush and kind of somewhat even the tips. Then measure the tips to about 1.5 to 2 times the hook shank in length. Tie them down on top of the hook, making sure they don't slide around. Then tie up, creating a nice even body before cutting the excess off. Then with your finger, kind of splay all the tips around. You want 2 on the left and 2 on the right. Then with the tag and the thread, bring them up between the 4, leaving 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. And this will kind of help sustain the separation of the tail. Then create a nice tapered dubby noodle, from small to short. That will take up about 2/3 of the hook shank. Then grab a piece of polypropylene free from the hank. Fold it over your thread and bring it on top of the hook. With figure 8 wraps, take one end of it to the left and one end of it to the right. Then create another small dubby noodle on your thread. And continue with the figure 8 thread wraps around the wing. This will create a nice pompous thorax. Put a little bit more dubbing on your thread and take a couple more wraps right in front of the wings. Then you can go ahead and whip finish. Go ahead and cut your thread off. Bring up the wings, fold them back to the bend of the hook, and cut them off square. This will leave you with a nice measurement of wing. Then go ahead and place a drop of Sally Hansen's on top of the fly. This helps keep out the water and keeps the fly floating upright. It's a spinner made with an old brush. Now grab your straw, measure about 1.5 to 2 inch in length piece. Then, with a one-sided taper, cut one end at about a 45-degree angle. Then, at the point of the tip, cut a triangular notch. Then, on the side opposite to where you cut the notch, take consecutive cuts all the way down the body, leaving you with like a open tube. Start a hook in your vise. Take wraps of thread just behind the eye to create a nice thread base. Now cut a pair of bead chain eyes free from the chain. Place them on top of the hook and secure them with figure 8 wraps. Once you've got them nice and even, take wraps over the hook shank but under the eyes to really lock them down in place. I like to add some Sally Hansen's so they don't swivel around the hook in the future of the tying process. Then bring your thread to the bend of the hook. Build up a small, about 2 inch pompous dubbing noodle on your thread. And create a little small ball at the bend of the hook. Then grab a monofilament eye and tie it on the far side. Point the eye down, as this hook will ride hook up and the eyes will be sticking out. Then do the same to the near side. The eye should be sticking out about half a hook shank in length. Then go ahead and cut the excess off. Then create another dubbing noodle and kind of cover the back of the eyes as they reach the hook. After this, grab a piece of wire, dog-ear it, and hook that on your thread. Then tie it right on top of the hook. Then create a nice tapered dubbing loop, starting thick to thin, wrapping it down to the bead chain eyes, creating a nice tapered body. of a shrimp. Then, put a tighter dummy noodle on your thread and take figure 8 wraps around the BJ knife. Then, put the cut off straw piece on top of the hook. Measure it off and cut the piece of plastic off to where the eye can still be seen and you can tie your tippet on. If you cannot get the plastic to sit right, kind of taper the squared off end so that it can better fit your beads and not get in the way of the bead chain eyes. Then go ahead and secure it to the top of the hook with thread. Then take open spiral wraps of wire down the body, creating a nice segmented look, and about 6 or 8 should do it. Once you reach the thread, go ahead and tie your wire off, bring your thread up, and helicopter it off. Go ahead and whip finish, and cut your thread off. Now, tease this dubbing out and really rough it up. This will create the legs and kind of the little nopopods and antenna. And give the shrimp a little bit of a fuller body. I also like to add some Sally Hansen's to the wire wraps and the thread. This will help protect it from toothy predators. Now, grab the fruit snack wrapper. This is made out of mylar, just like mylar tinsel. Because mylar cannot be recycled, so I like to use it in place of mylar that you can buy on the spool. Just like mylar, cut it into a ribbon that's best fit for your fly. Once you cut a nice, thin piece of it, set that aside. Start a hook in the vise with a pink bead on it. Take wraps from the bead to halfway down the bend. Then go ahead and cut the tag end to thread off. Grab a piece of wire and tie it right on top of the hook and back down to where you ended your thread. Then grab the cut strip of fruit snack wrapper and tie it down with the colorful side facing up. The side that kind of like you can see the letters of Mott's and fruit snack. The silver should be facing down. Then as you wrap, the silver will show. Take overlapping wraps up to the bead. Then once you reach your thread, go ahead and secure it and cut it off. Now take open spiral wraps with the wire. Start with closer wraps, and then as you work your way up to the bead, make them farther apart. And then once you reach your thread, go ahead and take thread wraps, bring your thread up, and helicopter the wire off. Then, create a small, about 1-inch dubbing noodle on your thread. Build up a small pompous thorax, and start building up a thread collar in between the dubbing and the bead. Consecutive whip finishes help with this. Go ahead and cut it, and brush out the dubbing. And that's a fruit snack midge. Now, with the bag, cut from the end of the Ziploc part to the clear part. Create about a 1/8 inch thick piece. I like to cut from the crease because when you cut the square at the end and you unfold it, there's a crease halfway in between it, and you can go ahead and cut that and get 2 nice, even pieces for 2 different flies. It is okay if it's a little wider than it should be. As you pull over the fly, it gets thinner. Now start your thread behind the eye and wrap down, not to halfway, but kind of halfway to halfway. So about 1/4 down the bend. Then, take the cut strip of plastic bag and cut it into an arrow. Then take thread wraps down to where you ended your thread. Now, with the wire, tie it on the far side of the hook shank, and as you wrap down, bring it to the near side. This will help the wire not pull out in the future of the tying process. Then create a small 5-inch dubbing noodle. This is for a size 12 hook. If you're tying smaller, you may need to create a smaller dubbing noodle. In the middle of it, add some orange dub, and then on top of that orange dub, add a little bit of red dubbing. This will help create a hot spot right in the middle. Now you already kind of do this naturally as you dub it, but create a nice tapering body tapering to a thicker in the middle and then thinner as you reach the eye. Then fold the plastic bag material over the top of the body, and when it reaches the thread, tie it off and cut the excess off. Create a nice head and start making open spiral wraps up through the body. 5 or 6 should do it. I like to try to add 2 before the hot spot, 1 over the hot spot, and 2 after. And then once you reach the thread, you can go ahead and tie your wire off, helicopter it off, and whip finish. Then you can go ahead and cut your thread off and tease out the dubbing. That's a plastic bag scud. Now you can recycle and catch fish.